with you guys for a few minutes tonight and be able to share. And I got a lot of stuff in my heart when I think about this idea, when I think about this organization and everything. A couple of weeks ago, I got called to jury duty. Anybody ever done that? That's a good time. I got called to jury duty. And when I got the little summons in the mail, Audrey says, oh, don't worry about it. You probably won't have to go. You know what I mean? You call in the day of it, and then they let you know if you really have to go or not. And she goes, oh, they get a whole bunch of extra people, so they always have plenty. So chances are you probably won't go. So, I put the little thing in my phone so that it gave me it told me that day. Boom, it popped up on my phone. Okay, it's going to be today. And so I was out running around doing stuff, and I called out. I said, hey, can you call in and see what happens, see if I have to go down? And I kind of had the expectation I was going to have to go. So she calls in, and she says, well, they excused a whole bunch of the groups, but your group, and they had one group come in, but your group doesn't have to go in, but you do have to call back tomorrow and see if you have to go in. So the next day, about noon, and I'm thinking, okay, but I probably won't have to go again. She says, oh, don't worry about it, you probably won't have to go. So the next day, I call her again because I'm out running around. I says, why don't you call in and see what's going on? And she calls in, and she calls me back and says, yeah, you're supposed to be down there in 45 minutes. I'm like, all right, good. And so anyway, I get down there, and there's a big room full of people, and you kind of sit there in the room, and then they get all your paperwork done, and they say, okay, now you're going to go up in a few minutes. We're going to call names, and those of you who get called get to go up, and it's like on the 4th floor, and you'll go up into the courtroom, and you'll be with Judge so-and-so today and all this stuff. And so I'm sitting there and in the room, and they start calling names. They said, juror number 1 is so-and-so, and juror number 2 is so-and-so, juror number 3. They got to juror number 45, and they still hadn't called my name. I'm like, oh, I got a pretty good chance I'm going to be out of here. 46, 47. I think I was juror 52. They called my name, and there was only 55 called at 52, so I got to go up too. So you get your big number, and you get in line single file, and you go up there, and I didn't know what to expect. Any of you guys ever been to jury duty? I didn't know what to expect, so I get there, and they single file, we go into this room, and we go in. I didn't realize, and everything I know about the courtroom I learned on TV. So I go in there, and we walk into the room, and sure enough, we go in and we sit down. And as I walk in the room, I notice the judge is up in the front. It's a courtroom. All looks just like I see on TV, a real nice courtroom. The judge is sitting up there in their black robes, and then you got the attorneys on one side, and then you got the other attorneys on the other side. And there's the defense attorney and all this stuff, and then there's a defendant and stuff. And they're all standing at attention while all of us jurors walk in, 50-something jurors, and we all sit down. Now they're going to do the jury selection process. And so, and I remember thinking, wow, and all of a sudden it's real quiet, you know what I mean? And it got real fast. Because all of a sudden they say, and then she says, and even if you do get in there, it'll probably be something like, maybe a drunk driving, maybe it's something like that. And the judge gets up and says, well, it's a 2nd-degree murder or something or other. And I was like, wow. And so they says, and they start telling you the time frame. If you end up on the jury, you could be here for it was 3 or 4 weeks. And I remember thinking, wow, you know what I mean? I got a lot of stuff going on. I got everything going on with my group. So they started saying, anybody that has an issue with time, please raise your hand, and then you can stand up and tell what your deal is. So they went through all these different people. So pretty soon, you get 50-something people, about half of them raise their hand. We all start whining about all the reasons why we can't be there for 3 or 4 weeks, man. And so it's going around, and everybody's standing up whining. And it gets to me, and sure enough, I stood up and I whine too. I certainly love the fact that we have in our system, a jury of your peers, all this stuff. And I started giving my thing, but blah, blah, blah. And I get all done and I sit down. I just remember listening to these guys. And as you went around the room, no matter what it was, no matter what topic they brought up that people had to get up and talk about, it seemed like it always got back to these people had so much going on. It was funny because everybody was talking about their economic situation. That was really the biggest reason why 2/3 of us, raised our hands and had situations. Meaning some of us were making plenty of money, but we were very, very involved with whatever we were doing. But most of the people got up and, hey, I haven't had a job for such and such a time, and now I finally got a little bit of work, and I got to be there, and this, and I got the kids, but it was almost every single person in there. The issue was financial. And I started thinking about this idea and what we have a hold of. And I think one of the things that gets me fired up about this idea, and we've all learned about the cash flow quadrant and stuff like that. And I think that's what fires me up about this idea is it does allow us in our lives the options and the things that you just can't seem to find in other deals out there. So I don't know what it is in your life or the people that we're talking to, what it is that we're all doing. But I just know that if you start looking at it, there's we tell the simple story of the bucket hauler, right? We've all heard the story. We tell the story all the time. But I think it's so interesting because it puts it takes the cookies and puts it on the bottom shelf. I think it's one of those things that if anybody listens to that story, you get it, you understand the power of it. Because I truly believe in my heart of hearts that if people understood the two different things in this business, one is of income, the other one is duplication. If we understood those two issues, I don't think anybody would ever quit this idea. I think sometimes if they do, they just don't understand what they have a hold of. How much money would you have to have invested at what percent to create even $5,000 a year? What would it take? How much would you have to invest it at 10% to create $5,000 a year? Sorry, this is a splash zone. How much? $50,000. Okay, so if you had $50,000 invested at 10%, that gets you how much? $5,000. If you're not trying to compound it or something like that. But do you understand? So is it easier for you to go out and get $50,000 and put it into something at 10%? If you can get 10%, right? So if you can get 10%, go get $50,000, put it away for a year, you'll get $5,000 of income, right? So you start thinking about if you want to have a $50,000 income, how do you do that? At 10%, how much do I have to get $50,000? $500,000, so $500,000. So here's a couple options for you guys. You want to create a $50,000 income? Here's two options for you. Option number one, go get $500,000, put in something at 10%, okay? So that's one option. So you can write this down. Go ahead and get $500,000, 10%, you can make $50,000 a year. The other one is build this thing to a little level that we like to call Founders Platinum. So I started looking at that, and you start drawing the circles, and you can draw it however you want. You can draw it with 300-point circles. You can draw it with 100-point circles. No matter how you want to draw it, I started looking at that thing, and I started thinking, you know what? Is it easier for me to go get, how many circles is it at 300 points? It's 25 circles, right? 25 circles at 300 points is 7,500 points. You do that 12 months out of the year. They start throwing extra bonuses at you. I just know that on the 26th of this month, they're printing me a check for $20,000. So at the end of this year, so on top of your monthly stuff, right? So you got your monthly stuff coming in, but all of a sudden at the end, they throw you another $20,000. Oh yeah, and on top of that, you get a little trip. Where are we going, Odd? Where are we going? Who else is going with me, man? Disney World. There's Grover back there. I know Dave's going. I know a bunch of guys are going, right? So we're going to Disney World. I don't know if that's bad or good. Last year was Vegas. Vegas was pretty good. I don't know. We went to Vegas, and what did we do in Vegas? They rented out the whole Venetian Hotel, and they had a couple of different sessions, right? I see Susan Mock out there. She was there. I mean, all I know is that they rented out like the Phantom of the Opera Theater. You can fill that sucker with all of our people, but they had to have two shows. So if you were in Vegas that night and you wanted to go to the Phantom of the Opera, you could not go unless you were one of us. And so we filled that whole thing up. And that's an amazing thing. If you go into that theater and you see all the seats that are in there, and you figure that every seat or every two seats, at least every two seats, because if they're couples, right, every two seats is an IBO ship, or maybe there's some singles there, but at least every two seats got at least a $20,000 or above bonus. Fill out that theater with people, two sessions. I mean, we sold out two of those, two Phantom of the Opera shows for our one session, and there were multiple sessions of Q12. So it's not hard to go into a theater like that and get a little bit of belief. It's not hard to go into those, they take the biggest ballrooms in Vegas and they open up all the doors as big as they get, bigger than any ballroom you're going to see in any of the other hotels. You get to these massive hotels, and they've got to put big screens up in several different sides of it so that no matter where you're sitting at your table, you can see the presentation of what's going on. And then afterwards, they took us in and they got us some refreshments. What'd they get us, man? Ice cream. They didn't just get any ice cream. Because I saw, and they try to be cool. They try to take the little linens and put the linens around the tubs of ice cream. But I pulled the linen down a little bit. It was all Haagen-Dazs, baby. Nothing but Haagen-Dazs ice cream for as far as the eye could see, man. So it's nothing but Phantom of the Opera with your wife. Your wife get romantic. You go to Phantom of the Opera, guys. Sure, you got to sit through it. It's a little rough. But, man, your wife's excited afterwards. And if that doesn't do it, you take her in for some Haagen-Dazs ice cream, man. It's all good. But you see what I'm saying? I'm saying this. Go out and get yourself $500,000 and put it away at 10% and create a $50,000 a year income. Or go find 25 people that'll do 300 points. What's easier? See, I remember I showed this idea to a guy once. I got taken to a guy to show the plan. I got taken by a downline to show the plan to a guy. And he tells me on the way he says he says to me, this guy makes about close to $300,000 a year at what he does. And I'm going to show him the plan. Remember, I'm the pool guy. So I got a pool guy brain, a pool guy self-image, a pool guy income, stuff like that. And I'm going to go to this guy's house. I remember going to this guy's house, and we were in there, and I was talking a little bit, and I started talking about how you get to this certain point where you make, I was just showing him the deal, the way I show it to everybody. And he looked at me, and he says, you would do all that work to make $50,000? And honestly, I remember thinking, well, yeah, I would, But I didn't know what to say to him. I didn't understand the cash flow quadrant. I didn't understand all this stuff. And you start getting around the leaders, start getting around some of the people and start understanding a little bit. But at this point in time, I was so early on in the business, I didn't know how to answer that. And I remember it kind of bugged me because it seemed like he kind of got me a little bit there. He kind of said, you do all that work to make $50,000. And I remember thinking, yeah, I would do it. You know what I mean? Well, then all of a sudden, a little bit of time went by, and I started, I'd get around different people, and they start talking about the cash flow quadrant. They'd introduce me to Kiyosaki and stuff. And I'd read some of his stuff. And all of a sudden, one night, the lights went on. Because all of a sudden, I woke up and I started thinking, you know what? What's the difference between the guy that makes $50,000 a year on the left side of the quadrant and the guy that makes $50,000 on the right side of the quadrant? I started thinking about what's the difference between those two guys on Monday morning. Where's the guy on Monday morning that makes $50,000 a year on the left side of the quadrant? He's probably somewhere on the freeway and probably the same place he was on Friday, right? He's in his rut of going to wherever he's going, because I know that's the way I always was with the swimming pool thing. It was just day in, day out, have to go to the same place every day to make the money. Does that make sense? And all of a sudden here, so what happened is I woke up one day and I started realizing, and I'll back up because I really do want to, even though we've all heard it a lot of times, it's so critical that you understand what we're talking about. If you understand the story about the buckets, the little village that has the common problem, they all need water, right? So every day they all go up to the lake and they all get their bucket of water, bring their buckets of water down. Finally, the fathers of the village get together and say, look, let's put it up to bid. Let's get someone else to haul the water down. So they give the contract to two different guys, and one guy takes off and he leaves, and the other guy feels like, hey, great, I got a monopoly on the deal. He works perfect hours. Why? Because that's just the way the market is right then. So he gets paid to every day, hauls buckets of water, 9 to 5 down to the village and sells his water. And the other guy goes off and he develops a plan, right? We all know the story, but he comes back and he starts up at the top of the mountain. And he's got these pipes on the back of his truck, and he's out there trying to hook pipes together. He's got the instruction manual out and stuff like that. Any of you guys ever put a barbecue grill together? You do not want me working on the space shuttle, man, because I get done with a barbecue grill, I got extra parts. But all of a sudden, all I know is this guy's up there and he's looking at the manual. He's trying to put that thing together, working on his pipes. The bucket hauler looks over at him, and what's he doing? He's laughing, right? Why? Because he's getting paid when? He's used to getting his paycheck. On payday, he gets his paycheck. He hauls the buckets down, he gets paid. He looks at the other guy and he starts laughing. I was like, dude, what are you doing over there? He says, I'm just trying to put my pipes together. He says, you make any money yet? I made no money yet. In fact, I had to spend money on my pipes. And I never put pipes together because I'm an attorney. But I'm over here trying to figure out how to put my pipes together. So he's working on putting his pipes together. The other guy's laughing. I was like, dude, just pick up a bucket. You make money right now. Just pick up a bucket. You make money right now. No, I think I'll stay here and I'll keep working on my pipes. Kind of laughs at him. So a few days goes by. The guy's over there struggling, putting his pipes together. A lot of guys would quit at that point because they wouldn't see the vision of what's going to happen in the future. But he kept at it, kept working, slowly started to figure out how to get the pipes together. And he started working his way down the hill. And all of a sudden, one day, the bucket hauler stopped laughing because he looked over and he could see him getting down to the village with his pipes. He started understanding. He could see the handwriting on the wall. The paradigm was about to shift, right? And on opening day, that guy turned the faucet on. And he got everybody in the village together and says, look, everything about my water is better than the bucket hauler's water. My water is available 24/7, 365. My water's cleaner than his. I got filters on these pipes. Everything about my water's cheaper. Everything about my water is better than that guy's water. So what does the bucket hauler do? Now that the paradigm shifted, he's got to change. He's got to lower his prices. He's got to go out and buy filters to pour the water through. He's got to do all this stuff to try to compete in a very different market than it was before. The internet comes along and changes everything. And some people don't see it happen, and some people see it happening. Why do we have partners like who? Who are our partners? Sears. Who else? Bass Pro Shops. Barnes & Noble. Petco. I'm just saying, why are all these guys tied into the deal? What kind of a deal is this where we got all these partners and they're willing to pay money to have this happen? So all of a sudden the paradigm shifts, and the bucket hauler, now he has to work shifts around the clock to haul his water. He's got to lower his prices. He's got to spend money on this stuff. So all of a sudden everything's different. The guy with the pipeline looks at it and says, hey, I could probably do this in other places. I could probably take my little plan, and I'll bet there's other places that need water too. And he can set up pipelines. He can get one person to watch, make sure there's no leaks, collect the checks, and he's got pipelines of income. And the moral of the story is whatever it is that you do for a living, are you hauling buckets or are you developing pipelines of income? And 95% of the population's on the left side of the quadrant. I don't care what you do or what the people you're talking to do. I'll bet you most every one of them is on the left side of the quadrant. And regardless of what they do, they're out there hauling buckets every day. And they're praying right now because of the economy for something else. And you got the solution to that. I got the solution to that. All we got to do is have the guts to go out and open our mouths and share the idea a little bit. And all of a sudden, everything in your life can change. Everything in their life can change. But do you have the guts, man? How many of you saw that video that Sean put together? The Porter brothers put together. I say Sean, it was all those guys, man. All of him and his brothers, they threw that thing together. That was unbelievable. I got goosebumps back there watching that. Why? Because what fuels the soul is what? We joke about that. When I first saw the idea, I remember sitting there looking at the idea, and I remember him talking about dreams, man. Put dreams up on your fridge. Put a picture of your dream up on your fridge. I was just a little too cool for that. I was racing to the bank on Friday to cover the checks order on Wednesday, and I was just a little too cool to put something up on my fridge like that. Because why? Because that's all of a sudden putting something out there that you're going to have to what? You're going to have to change. You're going to have to stretch. You're going to have to whatever. But do you understand that dreams are the fuel that propel the soul? Dreams are the thing that you look out there and you picture something, and if you get it in front of your mind, you're going to be attracted to the things that are on your mind. What's on your mind? What's on your mind? What are you thinking about? You start thinking about, some things that are on your mind. That's the things you start getting attracted to. And so I think about that. But you go back to the story and you start looking at that and you start thinking the difference in having income, pipelines of income coming in instead of every day going out and being on the little gerbil wheel. I know all about being on the gerbil wheel. In the pool business, you are on the gerbil wheel. And you are on it all the time. And if you're not working, you're thinking about it. I wake up in the middle of the night thinking about it. Man, did I forget something on that job? Who do I have to call tomorrow to make sure the shotcrete gets right? Make sure the steel's right? What if something's off? What if I get 2 phases down and I find out there's a problem and all of a sudden it's going to cost me, I have to build 3 pools to make up all the money it costs me to fix the problem because it's hard to move concrete after it gets in there. All I'm saying is this. I don't know what it is that you want. I look at those things. A lot of you went out dream building, went and looked at stuff yesterday. The thing that motivates me in this idea is the people. When I look into people's faces, I still remember a story that touches my heart. When I first got asked to go speak for another organization, I remember going into Texas. I remember being there with my wife, and I remember we got, they you know how it is. You go in to speak, all of a sudden you meet them at the airport. They're standing there with a sign with your name on it, man. They don't have any other job all day than to stand there with that sign with your name on it. They pick you up, and they're hosting you. They're driving you around in these Cadillacs and stuff like that, and you don't touch a bag, and they're doing all this nice stuff for you. And I remember we spoke to that organization, and that night we went out, and they opened up all the doors, and everybody's shaking your hand and stuff like that. And we went and got into that Cadillac, and the door closed. And I remember it was raining that night, and raindrops were going down and running down the sides of the windows of the car. And I watched, because we were under a covered thing, because remember, they come up and they pull up to the door and pick you up right there. Whole bunch of people all around the car waving goodbye to you and stuff. And I saw all these people that I really didn't know walking out into the parking lot, into the rain, into the darkness of the night. And I remember sitting there in this car with my wife thinking, we did really no unbelievable thing to be at this point that we're at, to even be honored enough to come speak here. And what I really wanted to do was I remember inside, I still remember that moment just sitting there thinking, man, I'm just like you guys. Yeah, they're nice to us. They're opening the doors. They're doing all this stuff for us. Come in, throw you some money to come speak to their organization, to take time away from your organization to speak to their organization. But I remember sitting there thinking, man, I just want to jump out of the car because I see these guys going out into the night. And I know what it's like to sit there and want it so bad. I know what it's like to want it so bad in your heart. Because what did I want? What I wanted so bad was that my wife could have the same kind of lifestyle that she saw around her. That I wanted my kids to be able to have some of the same kind of lifestyle. As a parent, as a husband, you want things for your family. So those are things that motivate me. But at this point in time, I remember them talking about this cruise. And I knew my wife, and I knew that she had it wasn't that she was so excited to be on the cruise. It was that she wanted to be there with the other leaders that were going to sail away on that cruise ship. And all of a sudden in that moment, I was more running away from the fear of not making it on that cruise than I was the fear of what somebody would say to me, the fear of what they would possibly ask me. And so all of a sudden everything changed. And in that month, I remember showing 43 plans. Never shown anything near that. I remember I used to call it 15. I was up on stage for a go-getter. I showed 15 plans, man. And if you really went back and tracked it, I bet I showed 6 or 7 real plans. And then I did a bunch of follow-ups. But, dude, I was there all night. I went through the numbers and the circles again. So I called it a plan. And I'm not saying you do whatever you want to do. But all of a sudden, I had to get real with myself and say, look, it was 15 plans a month, 15 to 20 plans a month. My eyeballs in front of somebody else's eyeballs. And so we started playing offense instead of defense. We started double booking stuff. We would book 2 meetings for each time slot. And that way, instead of setting up one meeting, because how many of you ever set up a meeting? I got a meeting next Tuesday night, man. I'm fired up because next Tuesday I had a meeting. So you finally did it. You contacted, you set up a meeting for next Tuesday night. So you're all excited, right? So what do you do between now and then? Nothing, man. Why? Because you already got a meeting set up for Tuesday night. You're fired up. And you're thinking about it when? Always, right? You're thinking about it every moment of every day. Tuesday night's the night. I got a plan. Tuesday night. You tell your upline, I got a plan. What happens Tuesday night? They weren't thinking about it as much as you were thinking about it. You get there and they're not even there. They forgot. So all of a sudden I said, you know what? If I'm going to make it on that cruise, I got to play offense. I'm sick and tired of people whining and telling me stuff. Oh, I can't, this and that. I started saying, look, I'm going to double book everything. And if I go there and they're not there, guess what? I got another meeting. And if I go to that meeting, if I go to the first meeting and they're there, I just call the other guy up. Because what's he thinking anyway? What's that guy want to show me? What's he trying to show me? You know what I mean? Most of the time, they're not over there thinking, man, I can't wait till they get there. They're thinking, what's this guy trying to show me? And yet those same people are on their knees every night praying for something. But yet sometimes they're not always open to looking. But at least we would go in there and we'd show the plan. I'd call the other guy and say, look, I promised I'd get with you, but I got some other people I got to show it to. I'm going to have to push you back. I got to push you back a couple nights. I even do that with people that just, you get the person on the whining with you on the phone, asking you, what's it all about, and whining. And after about 2 or 3 whines, I just say, hey, you know what? Let me hang on. I'll call you back. And then, or even I'd get the appointment. I tell Audrey, I'd tell him, man, I'm going to call that guy back and reschedule. And that guy was bugging me. You know what I mean? So I call that guy back and say, look, man, I told you I'd get with you, but I have to move you out 2 weeks. I got some other stuff going on. Hopefully I won't lose track of you, but if I do, don't forget, call me back because I don't want you to miss out on it. But I'm just saying right now, I got some other people I'm already. So I just started, all of a sudden they started thinking, well, man, what's this guy, what is he talking about? He just took the cookie away. So I would just start playing that game a little bit. And all of a sudden things started to work. And all I remember is we went on the cruise. The cruise left on Monday, and Saturday before that was our BDS. And the whole thing was what? We just made a decision. We put something out there that fired us up. You know what I mean? And to be on that ship, to be with all the other leaders, all the people that motivated us, that moved us, be there with all the different people was an unbelievable opportunity for us. We've been able to do so many things because of this idea. We've now been on a whole bunch of cruises. We've been to a lot of different places. What is it that you want? What is it that you want to do? Where do we go from here? As you leave this room, what's on your mind? Because whatever's in your mind, whatever the picture is in your mind, that's what you're going to get. If you leave here and your picture is, hey, I don't know what your picture is. Some people are going to leave this meeting and they're just going to go home. And some people are going to leave this meeting and what? Absolutely. They're going to go get whatever it is that they want. If they want to be Team 100, I just talked to a guy this morning. There's been a lot of guys in my business that fire me up. You know what I mean? There's been a lot of different guys. I look back at some of the experiences we've had with different people. I know Scott and we hopped in a car once and drove up here. And on the way, we stopped at the Wynn Hotel. It just happened to be opening night. And we got to stay at the Wynn Hotel, man, opening night. We even had to pull the little tab out of the bathroom scale because nobody had ever used it before. And on the flat screen TV, it said, welcome, Mr. Heron. I just felt so good to have my name on the TV. But we just had fun. So many fun things we've been able to do together. So many things. But all I know is I've been talking to some of the leaders this morning. I had a couple guys come up to me. And one of the guys came up to me and started talking about going Team 100 for the next function. Where are you going to be for the next function? How many people are we going to bring back? How many people is Doug Heron going to bring back? What am I going to do different? The bottom line is, why are some groups growing and some groups aren't? It's all about one thing. It's all about showing the plan. We had Sky Ledbetter come in and do our function a little while back. How many of you listen to Sky, man? Sky comes in there. Our last BDS, man, Sky came in there and he rocked the house, man. He came in there and started talking about a 2-minute plan. Everybody, you ever thought about doing a 2-minute plan? How many of you spent 2 hours with somebody and they never got in? Sky started talking about a 2-minute plan, dude, and my computer was jammed. I was like, that fired me up. I started thinking, if you think about this, if you went into a stadium, I got to pick one that's around here. What stadium's around here? Well, I'm going to pick my stadium because I went to Arizona State University. I finished 6 years of a 4-year degree. Thank you very much. I love the fact that it only took me 6 years to get out of there with a 4-year degree. The day I graduated, man, they put me in a dress. I actually had to go down and take a test the morning of the deal. So I had to go down and take my final test, and then I had to race over to the activity center and throw on a dress so I could graduate. I don't even think they had time to grade the test. How do they even know I graduated? I still can't figure that out. But anyway, I did it. I made it. And but if you go over there, they've got a Sun Devil Stadium, and you could put about 70-something thousand people in that stadium. What if you put 70,000 people in there, and what if you went and showed a 2-minute plan to every couple in that stadium? How many people do you think would get in? How many people, if you showed a 2-minute plan to 70,000? It's the law of averages, right? I'm just saying, it's funny how people will follow stuff. We got Bass Pro Shops, baby. We got all this different stuff. We got Amway. We got you call it, man. We got all these different things, Barnes & Noble, all this stuff. And all it is all these people we know are already spending money there. You know, I got buddies that go hunting and stuff like that. Scotty tried to get me to go hunting. He called me up last year. He says, Doug, man, let's go hunting. And he goes, are you in? I was like, of course I'm in, man. Whatever. I'll shoot something as fast as the next guy, you know. And I don't even own a gun. You know, he's got to be a good salesman if he's getting me to, you know, I don't even own a gun, and I said yes to hunting. I didn't find out till later it was a bow. I sure don't own a bow. You know what I mean? But anyway, I said, what do I got to do? And he says, give me your credit card. Over the phone while I was driving, I read my credit card number to him. He signed me up. I said, what happens now? He says, now we wait. What do you mean we wait? That's it. We wait. We see if we got drawn. I go, it's not in. We don't for sure go hunting. No, you don't go hunting. It's, you know, people come from all over to do this big game hunt in Arizona, man. You got to put in for it, and then it's just whether or not you get drawn. I said, that's what I just paid money for? He says, yeah. All right, I'm in. So every time I saw him, I said, dude, did we make it? And I knew the lingo now. Did we get drawn? I kept asking him that. I didn't know what that means. Did we get drawn? He says, no, they didn't draw yet. We didn't get drawn yet. I don't know what happens. But anyway, they didn't draw me yet. So finally, but the good thing is, dude, if your friends ask you about it, you can tell them, oh, yeah, I put in. I put in for the hunt. Are you kidding me? We're going to get some meat this year. You know what I mean? And so I put in. After about, 6 months or something goes by, and Scotty calls me up. He says, bad news, dude. We didn't get drawn. So what's my next question? Do I get my money back? I still don't know. Still don't know if I got my money back. I don't know what happened with that. But I didn't get drawn, but I did put in. So I feel a little bit more like a man because I put in. But anyway. What was I saying right before that story? I'm sure I had a point. Oh, yeah, the 2-minute plan. Exactly. Oh, that's my point. Think about it, dude. Scotty got me to go hunting, virtually to go hunting. I mean, I don't know what would have happened if I got drawn. Because then I started finding out you have to camp. It involves camping. You know what I mean? How many of you, when you're younger, camping's cool. You know what I mean? It's different now. It's different. You wake up at 4 in the morning, you're praying for daylight. You know what I mean? All of a sudden, you find out how good NyQuil can be. But anyway. So here's the deal. Scotty talked me into going hunting, man. And so I started thinking, guess what? You think there's people out there that would probably like to have an income, that would probably like to be able to supplement whatever they have now? It's amazing what can happen. We talk about the millions like it's nothing. You know, we look at some of the houses, some of the cars, all the stuff that all these people have, and then you start thinking about how can your life change if you just change it by $1,000 a month or $2,000 a month? Because remember, what's $1,000 a month? That's $12,000 a year. How much do I have invested at 10% to get $12,000? How much is it? To get $12,000 a year, I got to have 120, right? So go get 120. Did I do the math right? To make 12. To make 50, I got to get $500,000. So do you see what I'm saying? How many people, if they understood the logic of income, that money comes in. And I'm a little anemic platinum, man. Some of these guys you're going to see tonight are getting a $150,000 bonus. They're getting a $500,000 bonus. You know what I mean? I'm just getting started, brother. But isn't it amazing when you start thinking about that? Man, it's just all of a sudden you can just start doing a little bit of stuff, and all of a sudden your life can change. So can you go out and show a bunch of people? So if I went to every person in Sun Devil Stadium and I showed them a 2-minute plan, Do you think I could get a platinumship out of that? Do you think I could get 25 out of 72,000 people that would say, yes, I want to do it, that would do 300 points, and guess what? I could go platinum, and guess what? They could all of a sudden change their life too. I love the fact that nobody loses in this deal. I love that all of a sudden it gives them opportunity. I don't know which one of those guys is going to stand up and be a Scott Dillon. I don't know which one of those guys is going to stand up and be a Dave Metcalf. I don't know which one of those guys is going to stand up and be whoever, be who. Who's going to stand up and be, you look at these guys, Schulenberg, man, who's going to be a Schulenberg? You don't know when you're going to show it to the next Schulenberg out there. Listen, you got Nebraska down here on the front row trying to get those guys going. I don't know if you're going to go find a Susan Mock, man. I don't know who you're going to find. But I just know that if you go out and show the idea, you don't know what's in the heart of those people. You don't know what's going on there. I looked at some of those videos. Look at Curtis on there, man. You see that video of Curtis? Just a young buck out there sailing and all over the world, all the places he's been in the world because this idea came into his life. I remember sitting on a boat, on a little tender, going from the ship out to one of the islands. And I looked over, and there's one of the platinums that I always looked up into the business. And I looked at him sitting over there, and I thought, man, just how different would that person's life be today had they not said yes to this idea? How different would their life be if they had not said yes to this idea? I've seen so many different guys come along, and I've seen so many guys succeed in this idea. And every one of them will tell you the same thing. The difference between me and you is that I just never stopped going. I just never quit. Every day I did something. The difference in the people that make it and the people that don't. It's just like Jamie Clark when he climbed Mount Everest. One of the most motivational talks I ever heard was Jamie Clark in a coliseum of people talking. Do you understand? Before he made it to the top of Mount Everest, nobody asked him to speak. He went to the mountain 3 times. 2 times he didn't make it. But guess what? He kept going until he made it to the top. And he says that everybody wants you to come speak when you make it to the top of the mountain. But what they don't see is all those moments when you're in the gym with a backpack on, looking stupid, sweating, on the Stairmaster, going at it, because you've got a vision of where you're going. Just like the guy hooking his pipes together. He's still trying to figure out how to do it, but he had a vision of where he was going that the bucket hauler couldn't see. And some of your friends don't know where you're going. It looks like you're over there making a fool of yourself, trying to hook pipes together. They don't get it. But guess what? If you can get the vision in your head of what you want, and you can stay with it long enough, you'll figure it out. And one day it won't be that hard to hook pipes together. And one day you'll start hooking pipes together in different places. And you'll have one platinum ship. You'll have another platinum ship. You'll have another platinum ship. Another platinum ship. And another platinum ship. Another platinum ship. And all of a sudden, your whole life is different, man. Because somebody came into your life and gave you a little bit of hope. And if you can take that same thing, if I can take that same thing and go out there with that little bit of hope and share that with somebody, all of a sudden your life can be different. All the 2-minute plan is this. You just got to walk in there and find out if they want something different. They're already shopping at Walmart. Just need to shop over here. Some of them are already going to Bass Pro Shops. They just need to go through our deal. You can register them. And all of a sudden, it doesn't take that much because the second part of it is duplication. All of a sudden, there may be a night that you're not out there because your child's got a birthday. But what if you have 20 or 50 or 100 other people out there showing the plan? Can you inspire other people to show the plan? The number one way to do that is how? You go show the plan yourself. Doug Heron's got to go show the plan. If Doug Heron goes out and show the plan, guess what? Other people will follow. And all of a sudden, your life can be different. And other people's life can be different. The greatest moment in my life is, one of the great moments in my life is when I think about my kids. Think about my wife. The thing that moves me, when this life is over, everything stays here. But I love the fact that in this idea, I learned how to be a better dad. I learned how to be a better husband to my wife. I learned how to be a better father to my children. I just remember a time when we had all our kids up on stage. And I remember my little daughter, she was there and she'd learned a poem. And I started to tell the poem and she grabbed the microphone away from me. And she took the microphone because she wanted to do it herself. And she took it, and there was probably a few hundred people in the audience. They were all crowded up around the stage with balloons and stuff. And she took the microphone from me, and she recited the talk. She was just a little girl at the time, a little Ansley. She took the microphone from me, and she looked into the audience, and you could have heard a pin drop. She took the microphone, and she said, "Did is a word of achievement. Won't is a word of retreat. Might is a word of bereavement. And can't is a word of defeat. But ought is a word of duty. Try is a word of each hour. Will is a word of beauty. And can I can, you can, we can is a word of power. And that place erupted. And that is one time when I could never have bought that kind of... To have my kids see me in that moment, on stage, in front of several hundred people. They had no idea when they saw that crowd go wild when we got introduced on the stage that their mom and dad were rock stars. But all I know is that I could never trade anything for that moment in time, and that all came from this idea. Find out what it is in your heart that you want and go out and pay the price and get it, and you can have it. Love you guys.